Hello everyone. So I hope you all are preparing well for the SEBI Grade A Phase 2 examination, and I hope you are practicing a lot of MCQs for the Phase 2 paper 2. Now, it is important for you to know that which kind of questions can come in the examination as well as what topics are very important that you cannot leave behind. So, today we will discuss the previous year questions for the 2024 SEBI Grade A Phase 2 Paper 2 examination for the Costing, Companies Act and Economics component so that you can understand that what kind of questions have come in the previous years from these components as well as what topics you cannot leave behind. Okay, so this we are going to discuss, and the part 2 has already been conducted in which we have discussed the finance, management, and commerce and accountancy questions for your SEBI Grade A previous year question 2024. Okay, now we are going to discuss the previous year questions for Costing, Companies Act and Economics. So let's get started. But before that, there is a big announcement from EduTap that we have brought for you this guidebook for the SEBI Grade A, in which you are going to get the previous year questions for the different components, as well as you are also getting the important topics so that you can mark the topics that okay, you have covered the topics or not, so that there is no topic that you are leaving behind or you are missing out. Okay, so this is a very important guidebook that you should download, and it is absolutely free of cost. The link for the guidebook is provided in the description box below. Okay, so do download the guidebook. Now, first of all, we are starting with the economics component, and we will discuss the previous year question of the 2024 phase 2 paper 2 for the economics. Okay, so let's get started with the economics previous year questions for the 2024 phase 2 paper 2. Okay, so let's get started. First question is in front of you, that which of the following accurately describes the Say's law of market. So Say's law, I hope you know that the Say's law states that supply creates its own demand. Okay, so supply creates its own demand. That is the production of goods, that is the supply. It creates its own demand. So B option is the correct option. If you see the other options, demand creates its own supply. No, demand and supply both are considered determinants of growth. So the classical economist in from which the Say is also belong, like the John Baptist Say is also a classical economist. So he believed that supply is the most important determinant. Okay, so this is also not correct. Supply is created for the short run only. No. Demand creates the supply to reduce the prices. No. So only the B is the most appropriate answer. It is the correct answer. The supply creates its own demand. Okay, so B is the right answer. Now coming to the next question. Which of the following best describes the definition of national income? So national income, I hope you know that the national income, it is the total income that is generated by the normal residents of a country. So the national income is the total income that is generated by the residents of the country. Okay, so here directly, if you know about the national income, A is the answer. The total income earned by the residents of a country. B is not correct. The total value of all goods produced within a country's borders during a specific time. So this is about the domestic income, which talks about the production in the domestic territory in the country's border. So the other options are also not correct. Only the A is the right answer. Okay. So national income refers to the total value of all income that is earned by the residents of a country. So A was the answer. Now coming to the next question, what is the effect of a negative supply shock on the Phillips curve? So I hope you know about the Phillips curve. It is a downward sloping curve which shows the inverse relationship between inflation rate and unemployment rate. So if the inflation rate is increasing, the unemployment rate is decreasing. So the Phillips curve shows the inverse relationship between inflation rate and unemployment rate. When the inflation rate is increasing, unemployment rate is decreasing. The negative supply shock that can happen because of the cost of production, because of the increasing cost of production, because of oil prices or wages that are increasing, the cost of production is increasing, and this negative supply shock leads to rightward shift in Phillips curve, in which it can be seen that with the increase in inflation rate, the unemployment rate is also increasing. So Phillips curve with the negative supply shock, the Phillips curve shift to right, indicating that the higher inflation can come with the higher unemployment. Okay, so D is the answer. Remember that whenever there is unfavorable supply shock, that means aggregate supply is decreasing because of the rising cost of production. Okay, so there is unfavorable supply shock. The Phillips curve shifts rightward. That shows that with the increase in the inflation rate, the unemployment rate can also increase. Okay. Now, which of the following is the major determinant of the Keynes consumption function? So Keynes consumption function is the consumption is equal to autonomous consumption plus B YT. So consumption depends upon the disposable income. The A is what? A is autonomous consumption. That shows that even if the level of income is zero, still there is some consumption that is happening. So this consumption is independent of the level of income. What is B? B is marginal propensity to consume. It is MPC. Okay. So here A is the right answer because consumption depends upon disposable income. And the major determinant of consumption is disposable income as per Keynes. Now, coming to the next question, which of the following statements best define the trade deficit? So trade deficit is basically the deficit when we are receiving less than what we are paying. So that happens when we are paying more for the imports in comparison to the receipts for our exports. Okay, so trade deficit is basically directly when the imports are exceeding exports. So E is the right answer. Now, which of the following clearly defines the fiscal deficit? I hope you remember the formulas of the deficit, the revenue deficit, the fiscal deficit, the effective revenue deficit, and the primary deficit. So these are the important deficits for which the formula should be clear. And the fiscal deficit has the formula the total expenditure minus the total receipts excluding borrowings. Okay, so this is the formula for fiscal deficit. Fiscal deficit shows the difference between the government total expenditure and the total receipts excluding the borrowing. Okay, so A is the right answer here, and I hope you know about the formula of the fiscal deficit and the revenue deficit. Revenue deficit is revenue expenditure minus the revenue receipts. Effective revenue deficit is revenue deficit minus the grants for the creation of capital asset. Primary deficit is fiscal deficit minus the interest liabilities, the interest payments. Okay. Now, which of the following is the main function of monetary policy? So the main primary objective of monetary policy is price stability. Okay. So this is the answer. Under the RBI Act of 1934, amended in 2016, RBI is entrusted with the responsibility of conducting the monetary policy in India with the primary objective of maintaining the price stability while keeping in mind the objective of growth. Now, which of the following is considered as automatic stabilizer in the fiscal policy? That means the deliberate action is not being taken automatically. There is a stabilizer force that is in the fiscal policy. So here the defense spending is deliberate, the infrastructure investment is deliberate, but the unemployment benefits, think about it. When there is a recessionary tendency that is coming, when there is a downturn that is coming, contraction is coming in the economy, demand is decreasing, production is decreasing. With low production, there is more unemployment. With more unemployed people, there will be more unemployed benefits that will be provided, or more people had to be provided with the unemployment benefits. So the government expenditure will automatically increase. So this is the automatic stabilizer. When the boom is coming, the demand is more, production is more. With more production, more employment is there, so unemployment is less. With less unemployment, less people are provided with the unemployment benefits, so the government expenditure will decrease automatically. So unemployment benefits are considered automatic in nature. They are automatic stabilizer in the fiscal policy. You can read more about the other options also. They are the other options like the defense spending, that is deliberate, infrastructure investment is deliberate and such. But the unemployment benefits, they are automatically affecting and stabilizing the economy and trying to stabilize the economy. Okay. Now, which of the following is an economic indicator of growth? So I hope you know that the real GDP is considered the better measure, or it is considered a good measure to to see the growth in the economy. So if the real GDP is increasing, that means the production is increasing in the economy. That means there is economic growth that is happening, because the real GDP, the formula is current production multiplied by the base year prices. So the real GDP, when the current production is increasing, then the real GDP will increase. That shows the growth in the country. Okay. So the real GDP is considered as a good measure of economic indicator of the economic growth. Okay. So real GDP is a good measure of economic growth in the country. So real GDP is the most used economic indicator of growth. It measures the total value of goods and services produced in an economy adjusted for inflation. So real GDP is seen through the current production multiplied by the base year prices. Okay. Now, which of the following institution provides financial assistance to the government of member countries? So here we are not talking about loans. Here we are not talking about grants or such. Here we are talking about financial assistance. And this term is directly related to the International Monetary Fund, because three main functions of IMF are the capacity development, financial assistance, and policy advice. Okay, so the IMF is the right answer. I hope you know the functions of the IMF and such, so you have to keep that in mind. So IMF fosters international financial stability by offering policy advice, financial assistance, and capacity development. So this term is directly related to the IMF. And yes, the World Bank also provides the loans, but that is for the reduction of poverty or for the development, and the financial assistance is a key term that is related with the IMF. Okay, so such kind of terms you have to keep in mind. And yes, I know that in the examination it will be very hard for you to keep all of this in mind, but try to find the best answer. And the financial assistance is majorly related to the IMF. It is a term that is directly connected with IMF. Okay. Now, in monopolistic competition, product differentiation is done with the aim of, so there is product differentiation. We are able to differentiate Lux with Santoor from Dove, from Dettol, from Himalaya and such. So Lux is known for its fragrance, Dove for its smooth texture, the Dettol for its germ killing capacity and such. So product differentiation is done with the aim of creating the brand loyalty and the brand recognition. Okay, in the monopolistic competition there are large number of buyers and sellers, and the product differentiation is done to create the brand awareness, to create the brand loyalty. Okay, it is not for consumer surplus or cost reduction, it is for brand loyalty. So here, the through advertisements there is brand recognition, brand loyalty that is created. Okay, and in the monopolistic competition it is very important to have the brand recognition and loyalty. Now, which of the following causes the demand pull inflation? So the inflation, that is the prices are rapidly rising, they are rising in a sustained manner because of the increase in demand. Now, the aggregate demand or the aggregate expenditure, it is the combination of consumption, investment, government expenditure, and net exports. So, when the government expenditure is increasing, the demand is increasing, and with the increase in demand, the prices increase and the inflation rate can increase. Okay, so A is the best answer here. And remember that demand pull inflation, the prices increase because of the increase in demand. So this is the idea. Now, which of the following models considers economic growth depends on the availability of resources? Now, remember that this is the out of syllabus question. And such kind of questions, see, if you try to read all the models, so in international economics, that is a complete book by Dominic Salvatore. So you will have to go through all the models, the absolute advantage theory, the Ricardian theory. So there are so many of the models, as well as in growth and development, that is also a different subject of economics that we study in masters and such. So then again you will have to go through hundreds of models, so that is not possible. So such kind of out of syllabus question, if they are coming, either use logic, and if the logic is not being used, that means there is the factual question, then you will have to leave this kind of out of syllabus question. Okay, so it was Harrod-Dormer model that emphasizes the availability of resources and the importance of the availability of resources for the growth. But such models, you cannot go through all the models, so do not put too much pressure on yourself. Just focus on your syllabus and try to complete the syllabus, because most of the questions that we are seeing, they are from the syllabus. Okay, one or two out of syllabus questions can come, but you should not be afraid about it. Leave it or use your logic if they are being answered through the logic. Okay. Next, according to the economic survey of 2023-24, which of the following areas saw a sharp rise? So it was food inflation that was rapidly increasing at that time. Now remember that this question I have brought for you so that you can understand that economic survey and union budget, they are important. You should be going through the highlights of the economic survey and union budget. If not in depth, then at least do the highlights and such. Okay, because from the economic survey in the previous year a question has been asked and such. Okay, now scarce factor is also known as, now by the term itself you can understand scarce or scarcity means that it is limited, the resources are limited in nature. So the limited availability of the resources, and they are important for production, because the scarce factors, the factors of production, they are limited in nature but they are important for production. They are also known as key factor, because you can understand that these are the important factors that are important for production. Okay, so this is more like a logical kind of question. Scarce factor refers to the resource that is limited in availability and critical to the production process. So key factor, it is also known as key factor because it plays a crucial role in determining the output. Coming to the last question for economics, when inflation rises, it implies, so when the prices are rising, when the inflation is rising, when the prices are rising in a sustained manner, so the value of money decreases, because with the same income, now we are able to purchase less of the products, as the prices have increased. Okay, so with the same income, with the increased prices, we are able to purchase less products. So the value of money is decreasing. So this is it for economics part. We have discussed that, see, most of the questions, they were of direct nature, they were direct in nature, and if you have the basic understanding, if you have the basic clarity in the chapters, you will be able to answer the question. But as the pattern can change, and some question are also conceptual in nature, like the Phillips curve question, the rightward shift and such, it was more of a conceptual kind of question where the concept clarity is required. So I will suggest you, I will request you that do go through the syllabus completely in a manner that you are able to answer the direct questions very easily. But if the conceptual question comes, so you should not be leaving them, because it is phase 2, every question counts, right? So you should be going through the syllabus in a more detailed manner, so that you are able to cover the conceptual questions also, you are able to answer the conceptual questions also. So now I will leave the session, and the next faculty is going to take over. So thank you, everyone.
So now let us move on to the next component, which is company law. And we are going to see SEBI Grade A 2024 Phase 2 questions with respect to company law. And I would strongly suggest you to pause the video while I'm reading the questions. And afterwards, you can see whether you have marked the correct answer or not. So let us move on to question number 1. Which of the following are not eligible to be an independent director? So basically, when we talk about the independent director of a company, one of the important features is that basically they are required to have no material relationship, no material relationship with the company or the affiliates or the directors of the company. Why is it so? So that basically the independence of this independent director does not get compromised. So keeping that in mind, basically the managing director or the whole-time director or the nominee director, they are not eligible to be the independent director of the company, because managing director is the management executive of the company, whole-time director is involved in day-to-day affairs, day-to-day functions of the company, and nominee director, he is basically representing the interest of the stakeholder, which can be a bank or any kind of financial institution or can be the government. So basically they are not allowed to be eligible to be appointed as an independent director of the company. So basically D is going to be the correct answer to this question based on this rationale. Now let us move on to question number 2. NCLT is constituted by whom? Option A, state government. Option B, high court. Option C, Supreme Court. Option D, central government. Or option E, Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So basically, if we talk about NCLT, as per company law, NCLT, we know it is constituted by the central government, right? Although I would say it functions under the administrative control of Ministry of Corporate Affairs, but the legal authority to constitute this NCLT, it rests with the central government, right? Not with the state government, not with the courts, not with specifically any other body. You have to remember central government only as a part of it. So basically D is going to be the correct answer to this question. Now moving on to question number 3. Which of the following methods is a public company not allowed to use to issue shares? So basically, as you can see, if you see the options over here, option A, rights issue, option B, bonus issue, option C, employee stock option, option D, tender issue, and option E, all of the above. So the correct answer to this question is going to be tender issue. Tender issue is not there for issuing shares. It is basically for the buyback, right? It is used for that purpose, not for issuing shares. So D is going to be the correct answer to this question. Now moving on to question number 4. What is the maximum time limit for preference shares as per Companies Act 2013? Option A, 10 years, B, 15, C, 20, D, 25, or E, 30 years. So the correct answer to this question as per company law, it is going to be the C option, that is 20 years. Because if we talk about the preference shares, right? So as per company law, all preference shares that are there, they must be redeemable. They must be redeemable within the prescribed time limit, right? And if we talk about the maximum time limit that is there for the redeemable preference shares, it must be redeemed within 20 years, 20 years from the date of issue, right? So that is something that is going to be the answer to this question. So C is going to be the correct answer. Now moving on to question number 5. Every company shall inform the registrar within dash days the receipt of the director identification number. So for this question, the options are 7 days, B, 10 days, C, 15 days, D, 30 days, and E, 45 days. And the correct answer to this question is going to be C, 15 days, because when we talk about company law, right, every company is required to furnish this director identification number right, for of all its director to the ROC, and that has to be done within 15 days, right? So this is something that is very important. If you want to see the key timelines with respect to this DIN that you need to remember, the first timeline that you need to know is 30 days, राइट और जो सेकंड टाइमलाइन जो आपको याद रखनी है वो है 15 डेज. अब 30 डेज वाले में क्या होता है, बेसिकली the director must intimate the company, right? It must intimate the company within this 30 days, or you can say 1 month, of receiving it from the central government. The moment he receives this DIN from the central government, he must intimate the company within 30 days. Now, what this company has to do, suppose the director has given it to the company. Now, the company is going to inform the registrar about it, right? And that has to be done within 15 days. So these two important timelines that you have to remember, 15 days and 30 days and 15 days as a part of this mechanism. So I hope it is clear to you, and the answer to this question is going to be 15. Question number 6. Question number 6. What is the age limit for directors of a company as per Company Act 2013? So option A 18 to 65, option B 21 to 70, option C 25 to 75, option D 30 to 70, and option E 21 to 65. So the correct answer as per company law, if you talk about company law, if you talk about the minimum age is basically 21 years, right? And if you talk about the maximum age is basically 70 years, right? And there is some sort of exception also. Basically, a person, even if he has attained this age of 70 years, right, he can still continue, or he can still be appointed to this position if a special resolution has been passed with respect to it, right? And apart from that, an explanatory statement has also to be provided, which is some sort of justification that is there, that why this special resolution has been passed, but that can be extended. But I would say in ordinary circumstances, the minimum age is 21 and the maximum is 70. So B is going to be the correct answer to this question. Now moving on to next one, question number 7. If a company or director wants to create a mechanism for the resolution of matters involving 1000 stakeholders or more, what this mechanism is called? So if a company or director wants to create a mechanism for the resolution of matters involving 1000 stakeholders or more, what is this mechanism called? So basically this mechanism is basically called, it is considered as the stakeholder committee, right? So it is stakeholder relationship committee, to be very precise, right? So as per Company Act, every company that constitutes more than 1000, that can constitute more than 1000 shareholders, right, or debenture holders, or you can say deposit holders that are there, right, at any time, they are required to constitute this stakeholder relationship committee. That is something that is mandatory. And what is the purpose? The purpose is basically to resolve the grievances of the security holders of the company. So C is going to be the correct answer to this question. So this is the mechanism that they have to create as a part of it. Now moving on to question number 8. As per section 125 of the Company Act, which fund is constituted? As per section 125 of the Companies Act, which fund is constituted? Option A, Corporate Social Responsibility Fund. Option B, National Company Law Tribunal. Option C, Investor Education and Protection Fund. Option D, Employees Provident Fund. And option E, Environmental Protection Fund. So we know that as per section 125 of the company law, which fund is basically created? It is basically Investor Education and Protection Fund, right? And basically as a part of this Investor Education and Protection Fund, different type of unclaimed or unpaid amounts that are there, right, that remained untouched for certain number of years, they are basically transferred to this IEPF as a part of it, right? And I would suggest you to read more about this IEPF. पूरा प्रोसेस समझो कि यार किस तरह के unclaimed जो अमाउंट है जो यहाँ पर ट्रांसफर होते हैं, what is the timeline that is there, right? What is unpaid dividend account? ये सारी चीजें एक बार इस पूरे प्रोसेस को समझो, that how does it work? It is important for your exam because questions have been asked from this area in other years also, right, apart from 2024. So I would suggest you to read about this Investor Education and Protection Fund and more about the other sections that are related to this section 125, right? So that is my suggestion. So please go for it. Now let us move on to question number 9. An appeal to the Supreme Court from the NCLAT. An appeal to the Supreme Court from NCLAT can be made within how many days? Option A, 30 days. Option B, 45 days. Option C, 60 days. option D 90 days, or option E 120 days. So the correct answer to this question is going to be 60 days, right? 60 days is a time limit within which basically the appeal must be filed with the I would say to the Supreme Court against the NCLAT order. So this is something 60 days as a part of it. Now my question to you is, that is a part of a homework, you can write it as a part of comment box, that within how many days the appeal can be filed against the order of NCLT, right, to NCLAT. तो इसका time क्या होता है? This is something that I want you to write as a part of the comment box, right? Now moving on to question number 10. In special case, an auditor of a company can be removed by an order from which authority? So in special case, the auditor of a company can be removed by an order from which authority? So option A, tribunal, option B, central government, option C, district court, option D, shareholders, or option E, none of the above. So the correct answer to this question is going to be the tribunal. A is going to be the correct answer. So first of all, there is a normal rule, right? So basically in the normal rule, what basically happen when the auditor is removed, it can be removed by passing of any kind of special resolution, that is in the general meeting. And apart from that, I would say the prior approval of the central government is also required. These two things are there as a part of the normal rule, that is under normal circumstances. But if I talk about the special rule, that is under special case, that is there, right? So in this case, the tribunal can also come into action, and if the tribunal is, if it is, I would say, convinced, if the tribunal is satisfied with the fact that this certain type of auditor has been involved in certain type of fraudulent activity, or you can say he has been involved in any kind of fraud, right, any kind of fraud, or you can say any kind of corruption that is there. So what the tribunal can do, tribunal can basically pass an order that can remove the auditor from his office, right? So this is something that can be done under the special scenarios, right? These are the scenarios that I have shared with you. So in these scenarios that can happen, but under normal circumstances there is no such kind of provision. Only special resolution is required and prior approval of the central government is required. But the question is about special case, so A is going to be the correct answer to this question, right? So I hope it is clear to you. Question number 11. A firm shall be eligible for appointment. A firm shall be eligible for appointment as an auditor of a company. So we know that there can be individual auditor and there can be firm based auditor also, right? So the question is about firm based auditor. A firm shall be eligible for appointment as an auditor of a company, provided that a firm whereof dash practicing in India are qualified for appointment as aforesaid may be mentioned by its firm name to be auditor of a company. So option A, all partners, option B, majority of the partners, option C, any of the partner, option D, half of the partner, and option E, none of the above. So basically, if you talk about company law, it says that a firm can be appointed as a auditor of a company, right? If basically, first of all, the majority of the partners of the company, right, majority of the partners are practicing in India and they are qualified to be appointed as an auditor of the company, right? So they have to be qualified and they have to be practicing in India. So the answer to this question is going to be the B option, that is a majority of the partner that is going to be there. This is a very important thing. I want you to read more about it. जो auditor वाले chapter है आपके, इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर होगी, डायरेक्टर की रोटेशन होगी, ये सारी जो चीजें हैं ये आपको थोड़ा ध्यान से पढ़नी चाहिए, बिकॉज यहाँ से क्वेश्चन आते हैं, स्पेशली आपका एनसीएलटी वाला चैप्टर, that is extremely important. So make sure that you have a good command over this topic, and these are very basic things. You can see the nature of questions. A question is not very much difficult and I would say answerable, right? So B is going to be the correct answer to this question. Now question number 12. Dividend should be transferred to a separate bank account from how many days after the declaration of the dividend? So when the dividend has been declared, within how many days it should be transferred to a separate bank account? So option A 3 days, option B 5 days, option C 7 days, option D 10 days, and option E 15 days. So the correct answer to this question is going to be 5 days, right? Because if you talk about the life cycle of dividend payment, right? So basically the declaration of dividend, right, it has to be moved to a separate bank account within 5 days. This is something that you would be knowing, right? I think it is under section 123, right? So within 5 days it has to be move to a separate bank account. Then if you talk about the dividend, right, if you talk about basically if you're not able to pay it, if there is failure of pay, so I want you to read about this timeline also, right, which is basically 7 days, right, which is basically 7 days if you're failed to do so. And apart from that, you must read about the final transfer also, because final transfer happens where if the money stays in unpaid dividend account, then the final transfer has to be done as a part of IEPF, right? As a part of IEPF. So within how many days it is transferred to IEPF? It is within 7 years, right? So after, if the money stays in the unpaid dividend account for 7 years, then after 7 years it is going to get transferred to IEPF. तो ये पूरा प्रोसेस है, मैंने आपको थोड़ा ब्रीफली बताया, बट इसके बारे में एक बार डिटेल में पढ़ना, दैट व्हाट इज द टाइमलाइन, व्हाट इज द life cycle that is there with the dividend, right? With respect to a dividend payment, it is important for the exam and I want you to read it, right? और आप देख सकते हो यहाँ से दो क्वेश्चन आ चुके हैं, दो तीन क्वेश्चन मैंने आपको अभी बता दिए हैं. एक तो पहले हमने IEPF का स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन देखा, that was related to section 125, right? And this one also you can see over here that the question is related to dividend only. तो ये चैप्टर को पढ़ना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, it is important for your examination, so make sure that you are reading it. Now moving on, let us move on to question number 13. As per section 71 of the Company Act, if a company wants to issue debentures to more than 500 members, if a company wants to issue debentures to more than 500 members, it must appoint a dash before issuing a prospectus or making an offer to the public. Option A, financial advisor. Option B, debenture trustee. Option C, company secretary. Option D, auditor. And option E, registrar. So the correct answer to this question is going to be what? It is going to be the debenture trustee. Because basically when a company is issuing the debenture, basically to more than 500 members, right? It can be either through the prospectus or it can be an offer to the public, right? So in that scenario, basically what is going to happen? It is mandatory for the company to appoint a debenture trustee as a part of it. And what is going to be the role of the debenture trustee? It is going to work in a total unbiased manner, so that basically the interest of the debenture holders, they can be secured, they can be protected as a part of it. So he is going to monitor the compliance, right? He is going to monitor the compliance measures, and apart from that, if any kind of default is there by the company, so it can take the action also as a part of its duty, as a part of its responsibility. So that is why basically the debenture trustee is appointed as a part of it, and B is going to be the correct answer to this question. Now moving on to question number 14. Which of the following services are auditors permitted to render? Which of the following services are auditors permitted to render? So option A, auditing the financial book. Option B, management services. Option C, internal audits. Option D, accounting. And option E, all of the above. So basically if you see it over here, in order to understand the background of this question, right, I would suggest you to read section 144 of Company Act. क्योंकि आप 144 पढ़ोगे ना Company Act की, वहां पर आपको साफ साफ दिखेगा that there are certain areas where the auditors, where basically the auditors, they are not allowed to provide these certain type of services. कुछ ऐसी services है जो auditor को provide करना allowed नहीं है. ये मैं आपको suggest करूंगा, एक बार section 144 को नजर मारो, ठीक है? वहां पर आपको आराम से वो लिस्ट दिखेगी और इस लिस्ट को एक दो बार पढ़ लोगे तो आपको समझ में आ जाएगा. And I multiple times as a part of the classes I have explained the rationale also behind it, but अभी सारी चीजें नहीं डिस्कस कर सकते. तो सेक्शन 144 के थ्रू होना आपको पता लगेगा that auditors, they are prohibited basically to provide different type of services, for example services related to internal audits, right? तो ये भी allowed नहीं है. The management services are also not allowed. The accounting and I would say bookkeeping services, they are also not allowed as a part of it. Apart from that, the investment advisory services, ये भी allowed करना नहीं, क्योंकि ये सारी चीजें जो हैं, all such type of things that are there, they basically somewhere they have the scope to compromise the independence of the auditor. ठीक है? तो हम नहीं चाहते कि उसकी independence किसी भी तरह compromise हो, so that is why these type of services are not allowed for the auditor to be performed, right? So that there is no situation of conflict of interest, and office of profit situation is also not there. So based on upon that, A is the only option that is going to be the correct answer to this question. तो ये सेक्शन एक बार देख लेना, ठीक है? तो यहां पर आपको इसका एक क्लियर कट थोड़ा डिटेल आंसर मिल जाएगा. क्वेश्चन नंबर 15. पब्लिक ऑफर्स ऑफ सिक्योरिटीज मस्ट बी इन डैश. तो ये तो बहुत इजी क्वेश्चन है, इससे इजी क्वेश्चन मुझे नहीं लगता आपको मिल सकता है एग्जाम में, राइट? इसका आंसर है डीमैट फॉर्म, ठीक है? तो फिजिकल फॉर्म को हम खत्म कर रहे हैं, राइट, बिकॉज ऑफ द डिफरेंट चैलेंजेस दैट आर एसोसिएटेड विद इट. सो द पब्लिक ऑफर सिक्योरिटी, दे मस्ट बी अवेलेबल इन, दे मस्ट बी इशूड ओनली इन डीमैट फॉर्म, विच इज नथिंग बट द डीमेटेरियलाइज्ड फॉर्म, राइट? सो दैट इज गोइंग टू बी द करेक्ट आंसर टू दिस क्वेश्चन. ये तो बहुत इजी क्वेश्चन है, इसमें तो एक्सप्लेनेशन की भी जरूरत नहीं है, बहुत ही स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड आंसर होगा इसका. मूविंग ऑन टू क्वेश्चन नंबर 16. An alternate director for a director, an alternate director can be appointed for a director during his absence from India for a period of not less than what? Not less than dash, right? So A 1 month, B 2 month, C 3 month, D 6 month, and E 12 month. So the correct answer to this question is going to be what? It is going to be basically 3 months as a part of it, right? So we know that alternate director it can be appointed by the board of director. And when he gets appointed, basically, first of all, the director that is there, he is absent from India. That is the first thing. And the second thing is that basically his absence is not less than 3 months, right? So it is not less than 3 months. So that is going to be the two criterias, and this is something that has been asked as a part of the question. So C is going to be the correct answer. Question number 17, which is basically, I think, is the last question. So the tribunal may at any time within dash from the date of the order with a view to rectifying any mistakes apparent from the record. So question ये बोल रहा है कि the tribunal that is there, it may within dash days or within dash years from the date of the order with a view to rectifying any mistake apparent from the record amend any order. तो मतलब जो ट्राइब्यूनल ने ऑर्डर दिया तो उसको अपना ऑर्डर अमेंड करना है, तो वो कितने टाइम में हो सकता है, राइट? एंड शेल मेक एनी सच अमेंडमेंट इफ द मिस्टेक इज ब्रॉट इनटू इट्स नोटिस बाय द पार्टीज, राइट? सो द ऑप्शंस आर ए 1 year, B 2 years, C 3 years, D 6 months, and E 5 months. So the correct answer to this question is going to be 2 years. ठीक है, तो 2 साल होता है. So tribunal what it can do, it can rectify any mistake, right? तो जो उसके रिकॉर्ड में कोई मिस्टेक है, it can basically rectify it, and it can be basically within 2 years from the date of द ऑर्डर, राइट? और ये जो मिस्टेक रेक्टिफिकेशन होती है, जरूरी नहीं है कि ट्राइब्यूनल को कोई बताएगा आकर इफ समबडी इज फाइलिंग द अपील और कंप्लेंट देन ओनली इट विल बी एबल टू रेक्टिफाई. दैट इज नॉट द सिनेरियो, बिकॉज इट कैन बी रेक्टिफाइड, द ऑर्डर कैन बी रेक्टिफाइड ऑन अ सीओ मोटो बेसिस ऑल्सो. सीओ मोटो का मतलब क्या है? ऑन इट्स ओन. इट बेसिकली मीन्स ऑन इट्स ओन. अगर ट्राइब्यूनल को खुद भी आइडेंटिफाई होगा कि इस ऑर्डर में कोई रिकॉर्ड में कोई मिस्टेक है, सो दे कैन रेक्टिफाइड बाय देमसेल्फ विद इन दिस 2 years. और ऑफ कोर्स इट कैन बी थ्रू द एप्लीकेशन बाय द पार्टी ऑल्सो. इफ एनी पार्टी दैट इज देयर, right, if it feels that basically tribunal order has to be amended, right, if there is certain type of mistake, so it can basically uh, pass the application, and based on that the order can be rectified, the mistake can be rectified. So based on that, B is going to be the correct answer to this question. So now we have seen all the questions that are there with respect to company law asked in the year 2024 phase 2 paper 2, and I hope it was helpful. Now after that, basically Ashima ma'am is going to continue, and you are going to see the costing questions also.
So let us now start with the subject costing. So this is the question number 1, that you have to calculate the cost of production with the following information: material cost, labor cost, setup cost, manufacturing overheads is given to you 20% of the direct labor cost, and selling overheads is also given to you 10% of the direct labor cost. Now you just pause this video, try to answer this question, and then come back to the solution, right? Now in the cost of production, we know that selling overheads is not a part of cost of production, because here I just want to find out the production cost. So the material cost, labor cost, and the setup cost, which are mostly the direct cost, that can be included, and the manufacturing overheads, that is my production overhead, you can say, that is also included. Now just add your direct cost was 600 plus 150 plus 200, that will come out to be how much? This comes out to be 800, 900, and 950 rupees. And the manufacturing overheads, that is 20% of the direct labor cost. So 20% of how much? Direct labor cost, that is 150. 20% of 150 is how much? Just calculate. That is 30 rupees, right? That is 30 rupees. So 30 rupees will also be added to the to find out the cost of production, that is 980, right? So 980 is the correct answer, that is option number D. So all those who have answered it well, very good everyone. Okay. Now, moving on to the question number 2, you have to calculate the differential cost if the cost at 70% activity is 30,000 and 85% activity is 39,000. Now, most of the students can get confused. वो क्या करने के लिए लगेंगे? 70% निकालने की कोशिश करेंगे 30,000 का. But नहीं. We have to find out the differential cost. That is the difference between two activity levels. It is such a simple question. Just at two different activity levels, two alternative activity levels, we have to find out the difference between the two costs. That is 39,000 minus 30,000. What is the difference? 9,000. So 9,000 is the difference and makes it the correct answer. That is option number C. Okay, easy again. Okay, moving on to the question number 3. Again, see, canteen expense for factory workers is classified as. Now, इसमें थोड़ा सा दिमाग यूज करना है हमने कि हम बात कर रहे हैं फैक्ट्री वर्कर्स की. So when we are talking about the factory workers, we are talking about the production department. So of course, first of all, we are talking about the production department. Okay, and then we have the canteen expense. Is canteen expense a direct cost? Is direct cost for the factory workers? Of course not. Why? Because this canteen expense is not directly attributable to the product cost, right? It is not helping to make the product, so it is basically an indirect cost. It is basically an indirect cost. Now let us see the options. First is the administrative overheads. So administrative overheads is basically, you can say, office overheads. So is it a part of office? Again, no. So yes, A answer to हमारा चला गया. Then option number B, that is selling and distribution overheads. Again, is this a part of selling? Is this a part of selling overheads? That is to sell this product? Again, no. Then is it a direct cost? ये तो पक्का ही नहीं है. Then production overheads. Yes, because it is a part of production department and because this is an indirect cost, so it becomes a part of production overheads. This becomes the right answer, that is the production overheads. Next is the financial overheads. Now you can get confused here also, because financial overheads are what? These are also indirect costs. Okay, but here it is mentioned that it is for the factory workers. Now it is given, it is stated that it is for the production department, that is the for the factory. So hence we can just write down, we can state that okay, this is the production overheads and not the financial overhead, right? So option number D is the correct answer. Coming to the question number 4, if the input units are 300, okay, with the normal loss of 30% and the units produced are 190, then there will be abnormal gain or loss. Then now again pause this video, try to calculate and then come back to the solution. Now, input units kitne hai? 300. There is a normal loss of how much? 30%. So first of all, we need to find out that, okay, how many units that I'm expecting after my normal loss. So 300 minus 30%. So what is 30% of 300? How much it is? 90. So can I say 300 minus 90 units? That will be how much? 210. So this much I am expecting after my normal loss. But how many units are actually produced? How many units are actually produced? 190. So that means I'm again short of 20 units. Okay, that means this is what? This is my abnormal loss, because I am not expecting this loss. This 20 units is extra loss over and above my normal loss. So this 20 units will be stated as the abnormal loss. So what will be the answer? Option number B, abnormal loss of 20 units, right? Okay, moving ahead, question number 5. This is again a numerical based question. If the break-even point is 20 lakhs and the fixed cost is 5 lakhs, you have to calculate the profit volume ratio. Now, this is a formula based question. You need to remember the formula if you want to answer such questions. Okay. So the break-even point is given to you, fixed cost is given to you. You have to calculate the PV ratio. Again, pause this video, try to calculate on your own. So the formula is what? PV ratio is equal to fixed cost upon break-even point. So just calculate into 100. है ना? So 5 lakh divided by that is break-even point 20 lakh into 100. So just try to calculate this. This will be 1 by 4 and this reduces down 25%. So it comes 25%, that is option number C, right? So you have to remember the formula that PV ratio is equal to fixed cost upon the break-even point into 100. You will be able to calculate. But if you don't know the formula, then it will be very difficult for you to answer, right? So question number 6. Question number 6 is again formula based. Given a PV ratio of 30%, fixed cost is given to you, selling price is given to you 100 per unit. You have to again calculate the break-even point. In the previous question, break-even point was given to you. Now PV ratio is given to you. Again, it is easy. Now we have to calculate the break-even point, right? So how will you calculate? Fixed cost upon PV ratio. The formula is almost the same. You just have to see how will you, organize it. So break-even point is equal to fixed cost upon PV ratio. This will give you in rupees. In rupees, right? So fixed cost is how much? 90,000. 90,000 divided by PV ratio, that is 30%, or you can say 30 into 100 here. So you will calculate this, you will get how much? You will get 3 lakh rupees. So you'll get 3 lakh rupees. But you don't want in rupees, you want in number of units, right? The options are given in units. So how will you find this out? Selling price is given to you. that is rupees 100 per unit. So you will just divide 3 lakh divided by the selling price, that is 100 rupees, and you will get the number of units, right? So 3000 will be the number of units. Again, the crux is that you need to remember the formula, right? So you have it in rupees, you have the break even point in rupees, that is at the situation when there is no profit and no loss, you have the number of you have it in rupees. Now you can calculate in the units by dividing it by the selling price, already given you in the question. So 3000 is the number of units, so the answer comes out to be option number B, right? Let us move ahead. If the desired profit is 20,000, fixed cost is 1,50,000, PV ratio is also given to you, what is the required sales? Now again, if you know the formula, pause this video, try to answer this and then come back. But if you don't know the formula, then let us do the question. Now, you have to find out the required sales. What is the formula? Sales is equal to, it is equal to fixed cost plus profit divided by PV ratio, right? Is this the formula? Right. So fixed cost is how much? 1,50,000 plus profit is given to you 20,000 divided by the PV ratio, that is 50% or 50 into 100. So just try to calculate. This would be 1,70,000 divided by 50 into 100. So when you will calculate this, you will get how much? You will get 17 into 2, 34. 34, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3,40,000. So 3,40,000, answer is option number C, right? So this is all, the game of formulas. If you remember the formulas, you'll be able to answer these questions. Coming to question number 8. In cycle manufacturing business, which method of costing is most appropriate? So when I have a cycle, okay, now cycle has so many, things like a chain, है ना, cycle की chain होती है. Then it has wheels, right? Then I need to paint the cycle, right? So basically it has different components, this cycle. So when I'm making a chain is basically a very, you can say similar chains are made for every cycle. So basically we can use process costing here because similar type of products are being used, right? In the wheels, basically one company is making wheels for different cycles or cycle brands. For example, one company, ABC Limited, for example, is making for Avon cycles also, it is making for Hero cycles also. So basically what they use is batch costing. They'll use what? Batch costing for the wheels. So, and for the paint is basically according to the customer, according to the demand of the customer. So basically paint is what? Job costing. It is unique for every cycle. So here we can use job costing. So basically, can you see different types of costing we are using for making one cycle, right? So here we are using what? Here we'll be using what? A multiple costing. Here we'll be using multiple costing because we are using different methods of costing, right? Not job costing, not process costing, not batch costing, but yes, we'll be using the integrated version of it, that is the multiple costing. Okay, contract costing is basically not the correct answer because contract costing is for the long projects, है ना, that is for long term. So contract costing तो बिल्कुल भी इसका सही आंसर नहीं होगा, right? So this is multiple costing. Question number 9, again, it's a formula based question, it's a numerical. If you know the formula, kindly stop here and try to solve this. But if you don't know the formula, then yes, let us solve. Labor rate variance, you have to calculate the labor rate variance using the following data, that is standard rate, actual rate is given to you, actual hours is given to you, and standard hours is also given to you. Now you have your actual hours and the standard hours also, so you should know when you have to calculate the rate, you use the actual hours, right? So actual hours into standard rate minus the actual rate. Yes, this is the formula. So actual hours is how much? 500 into what is the standard rate? 2.5 minus actual rate 2.2. Just try to calculate this. This will be 0.3. 500 into 0.3, that will be how much? That will be 150. That will be 150, and it is coming in positive, so it is favorable. So it will be favorable. Answer is option number D, right? So this is the formula for labor rate variance that you should know, that is actual hours into standard rate minus the actual rate, right? So with this calculation, you just have to substitute the values and then you will get 150 favorable, right? So option number D is the correct answer. Coming to question number 10. Now, who is responsible if the raw material purchases are more expensive than expected? If the raw material purchases, so basically here the person who is going, he is not able to negotiate and वो ज़्यादा expensive buy कर रहा है ना? So who will be responsible? किसको पकड़ेंगे? So will we catch the production manager? No, production manager will say I am basically managing the production department. That is, if the raw material is being used more or less, so I'm seeing the usage of raw material, not its purchasing, then will I catch the finance manager? Finance manager says I am just authorizing money. Okay, I'm saying ki, okay, I'm giving you 20,000 for your purchases. Now you purchase 100 units out of it or 200 units out of it, I don't care. I'm just giving you, authorizing you the money. So basically finance department is just taking care of the accounts department, है ना? Then the purchase manager, can I held this hold this purchase manager responsible? Yes, purchase manager will be held responsible that okay, he has not negotiated well, okay, because he is going for the purchasing. So yes, the answer would be purchase manager. He will be held responsible if he is buying expensive products. Then marketing manager is basically held responsible for its selling. Okay, that means if he's selling the goods or for the finished goods, when he's going to the market for selling its finished products, basically it's not related to any production or purchases. Then operations manager will say I am handling all the production and the whole production department, that how is the workers doing and what is the activity that they are performing. I am not concerned about the purchases. So operations manager is also the incorrect one. So purchase manager is the correct answer. That is, he will be responsible, right? So option number C. Next, question number 11, that is, what term describes the implementation of a new or significantly improved production or delivery method, including significant changes in techniques, equipment, or software? So here I am trying to talk about that, okay, हमने improve करना है. There is an implementation of improved production or delivery method. So when I'm talking about a method, am I talking about the product? So product innovation can be the correct answer. No, product के बारे में तो हम बात नहीं कर रहे. We are talking about the method, the production method or the delivery method, which also involves the changes in any technique, equipment, or any software, right? So product innovation तो नहीं होगा. Then process innovation. When I'm talking about the method, change in the method, we are of course talking about changing the whole process from the start to end, है ना? The production and the delivery as well. So here, yes, we are talking about process innovation. We are talking about the changes in the process, right? Next is the business model innovation. Business model innovation क्या होता है कि when we are trying to change basically the whole business model. That means, for example, इसमें हम example देते हैं, for example, Netflix is trying to change its business model by changing the genre, or by changing the way people are watching, or by changing the method of payment, है ना? So basically changing the whole business model, that is known as business model innovation. So this is also incorrect. Then service innovation. Are we trying to change the services of the business? No, we are trying to change the production or delivery method. So here it will be wrong. And organizational innovation. So organizational innovation, like you can say, when I'm trying to change the hierarchy, or I'm trying to change the structure of my organization. So here I'm not changing that. So again, this will also be the incorrect option. So the answer is process innovation. Okay. Next, let us talk about the question number 12, that is, how is the effectiveness of the total productive maintenance measured? That is TPM. Okay, so total productive maintenance. So whenever we are talking about TPM, we should remember that we are talking about the equipments, that we are talking about the machines. What does TPM basically say? That there should be no breakdown, है ना कि we should try to be preventive as much as possible कि कोई भी breakdown ना हो, कोई भी problem ना हो in between the production. So total productive maintenance, how do we measure that? Basically we measure it through the overall equipment effectiveness. The overall equipment effectiveness, where we see that if the product, the machine is available, its performance, and its third is the quality, right? So availability, performance, and the quality is measured in the overall equipment effectiveness. Okay, so how do we measure the effectiveness? We measure it through the overall equipment effectiveness, that how much the equipment is effective to produce certain goods. Okay, how much it is available, how it is performing, and what quality of the products that it is performing. Okay, so ROI, basically ROI is for the investments, है ना, for the long term investments, or basically financial gains. So it will not be the correct answer. Gross profit margin, again it is for the profits of the overall firm. So this is also not the correct answer. Net present value, this is also for the investments, that okay, what is the present value of the investments? So this is also not correct. Then customer satisfaction is for the customer experiences, the customer perception, to basically measure that. So basically this is also incorrect. हम इधर productive maintenance की बात कर रहे हैं for the equipment. So customer satisfaction index will also be not the correct answer. The answer is overall equipment effectiveness, also known as OEE, right? So with this, you have done the 12 questions that came in phase 2 of 2024. Now, if you still haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, do subscribe it, like and share this video, comment, and also join our Telegram channels for getting quick updates, right? And now, if you want to, buy any of our courses, so then in that case, you need to go on our edutab.in, the website edutab.in, and then under the courses section, okay, you can see all our courses that what edutab is offering. It is offering so many courses, EPFO, IFSCA, and so on. And here in the SEBI section, okay, in the SEBI Grade A section, you can see that what all things that are being offered under the SEBI, right? So here I'll go and check under the SEBI Grade A. Yes. So these are the courses that are being offered, right? So here you'll get all the phase 2 information, the recorded crash course of the general stream. You'll get all the subjects, and then in the top up course you'll get the chapter wise mock test and the full length mock test as well, and you can see the uh, other courses as well, right? So thank you everyone, and keep learning, and best of luck for your exam.